We gotta get out of here before the whole town's on top of us. You're done.
You want what I want, right?
End it. Now.
Joel, get up. Joel, get up. Please stop. Please don't shoot. Joel, please get up.
What's going on, game players? How are you guys doing, man? I got a special guest with me, brothers and sisters. Oh, you have heard this brother call in quite a few times. He has had quite a few opinions with this gaming culture. He is a really good friend of the show. He's a really good guy. You already know who I'm talking about. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, then you will know his name, Mr. Vaughn.
Yeah,
welcome to the show, brother. Thank you so much for being here, man.
My pleasure, man. It is such an honor to be on this show. I love listening to you. I love the feedback section, everybody else that's in the circle. And I'm just glad to be here talking about this game.
Oh, man. Well, brother, it is truly appreciated that you even accepted to be on to the show to talk about this game. I mean, guys, you already saw the title. We are going to be talking about The Last of Us Part 2. We are totally spoiling it. So if you guys have not played it, come back and listen to this after you guys have beaten it. So, Vaughn, brother, what I want to ask you, man, is just first off, because the lead up, the build up to this game, right? We had got quite a few leaks. We found out certain characters died and, certain things that happened way before the game came out. You yourself personally, were you actually able to avoid those spoilers on the lead up to this game? Because thankfully, I was able to dodge all of them.
I was able to dodge for the most part. I guess the specifics. I knew something major was going to happen. But I stayed away from, as soon as I heard everybody complaining about there were spoilers and they weren't going to buy the game, they were canceling their pre-orders and all that, I was like, okay, what is this nonsense? I know this game's going to be dope. I mean, come on. That's The Last of Us. The first one was dope. I had high expectations with this. It can't be that big that it's going to ruin the game that I'm going to go out and cancel my pre-order. So I purposely stayed away from any more videos from that point, any talk, if I saw somebody talking, because you know how our culture is, the gaming culture, people will you'll be talking about the weather outside and then somebody will put in, Joe is going to get killed. So I know that, and going in, I just avoided everything.
That was the same thing that I did, Vaughn. I did the same thing, brother. I avoided Twitter for the most part a lot. I really tiptoed around because once I found out certain things that happened, just to your point, Vaughn, where people were canceling their pre-orders and people were highly upset, I said, man, I need to back off. Let me go ahead, pump the brakes and try to, avoid as much of these spoilers as possible. So I wanted to talk about, since we were talking about the spoilers, the story. I want to start there, Vaughn. The story to you, brother. How did you feel about Joel actually dying? I'm just curious to know because so many people were up in arms about it, highly upset. Me, I wasn't mad about it. I thought that it was part of the course. That's the kind of world that these guys live in. So to me, it didn't come as don't get me wrong, I was shocked when it happened, but it just made the story more interesting to me to see how far the rabbit hole was going to go. How did you feel about it, brother?
The same way. I mean, like I said, I knew something major was going to happen. So to me, that just meant something was going to happen to Ellie or Joel because they were the main characters. So when it happened, I was like you. I was shocked at the way it happened, but I was like, okay. But it didn't bother me, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm like you, but I'm going to break down why it didn't really. I wasn't mad at the game, so to speak, because I don't know if you watch The Walking Dead. Do you watch that series?
I haven't seen it in quite some time, Vaughn, but I hear anybody can get it though, brother.
Okay. And exactly. So if you're a fan, and I'm a big fan of the Walking Dead series, and we'll come back to that later because there's another cross reference to that I'm gonna point out. But yeah, it didn't surprise me because, like you said, anybody can get it in The Walking Dead, and that's what I loved about The Walking Dead because the writer, when I went into the TV series, there's two fans: the TV series fans and the novel or the graphic novel fans, the people who know the book. And I didn't even know it was a book series, right?
Yeah, I didn't either.
When I first tried out the show and found out that it was a graphic novel series and found out that the writer, and his name is escaping me right now, forgive me everybody that's listening, they're yelling at the podcast right now. But the dude that writes, his motto is, his thing is, anybody can get it, just like you said. Don't get too close to these characters because anybody can go at any moment. And I love that being on the edge from season to season. So with coming from that world, I love the fact that they were bold enough to get rid of a main character and stood by it. It wasn't no dream sequence. It wasn't no, oops, this is not real. We're tricking you. He's gone. That's it.
Yeah, man, let me ask you something, Vaughn. Talking about that because that is such an interesting point. When it was actually happening, when, golly, what was the protagonist? Not Ellie, but the other girl, Abby. Yeah, when Abby was gearing up to hit him with the golf club one last time, did you really believe that was it, brother? Did you think that was it?
You know why I knew that was it? Because if you go back and you watch that scene and they switch the camera view from his head and you can see Ellie on the ground, you saw the blood squirting out of his brains.
I didn't even notice that, Vaughn.
And let me tell you what I did when she struck him, when she reeled back, and the girl is built like they said in the game, she built like an ox. When she reeled back and she put that club in his head that final time, I was like, oh, he's done. He's done. And when that blood came out, again, coming from The Walking Dead, it reminded me of the scene. And this is going to be a spoiler show, so I'm going to spoil it if you haven't seen it.
Of course.
Well, you haven't seen it, so I don't want to spoil it for you.
Oh,
you
no, I'm good, brother. You can go ahead, Vaughn. It's all right, brother.
There's a dude named Negan, bad dude, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, great actor, and he has a baseball bat. Everybody who watches Walking Dead knows what I'm talking about. Got a bat with nails on the end, and they did a cliffhanger at the end where somebody, one of the main characters, was going to die, but they lined it up so you didn't know who until you came back. And it was this dude named Glenn who's been with the show from the beginning season. And when he laid that bat in the Glenn skull, it was over. You knew he was no coming back. So I had that same feeling. I dropped the controller and I was like, oh! I was no straight in my game. I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. That's it.
Oh, man.
That's the feeling I had.
Exactly. No, I feel you. I felt the same way. I was completely shocked, completely taken off guard because once again, thankfully I didn't have any spoilers, had no idea what was going to happen. So it truly was something I didn't even see coming. It just totally blindsided me when it happened. And then it was like, wow, where does the story go from here?
Exactly.
This is crazy.
Exactly. And see, this is the thing that, since we're talking about spoilers, that I do not understand why people like to spoil a game. First of all, why would you want to spoil for someone else?
Right.
To take away that moment that you and I had when we saw that. Now, imagine if somebody just walked up to us and told us, or we saw it somewhere on something, that was going to happen. That whole energy that we felt when it happened would have been, it would have been nothing.
Definitely.
Like, I knew this was coming. So I don't know why people get off on doing that.
Yeah,
but
man.
Can I tell you something about that scene since we're talking about it?
Absolutely, Vaughn. Please do, brother.
There is an interview with Neil
Druckmann?
Yes, Neil Druckmann and Troy Baker. Troy Baker, who did the voice for Joel, he's actually interviewing Neil Druckmann, and they're talking about their experience. It is great. You should go check that out if you haven't.
Definitely.
But they talked about that scene, and the subject was actually about them having creative differences, and they wouldn't call it an argument. They just said, it was just two artists who had differences of opinion. And Neil Druckmann was saying he loves that. He doesn't like an actor to just sit back and just whatever I tell you to do it or whatever. He wants you to bring your emotion out on it. So Joe, I was going to say Joel. Troy he's so into being Joel that he was like, in that scene in particular, he said, I think we should change this particular scene. And I'm going to tell you what it is. And Neil Druckmann is the type of director, he is like, well, I'm going to give you the freedom to do it. I want to do it my way. We're going to film it both ways, and we'll see which is the better version. What the scene is when she hit him with that club the final time, they said the neurons in his brain was kind of misfiring. He was dying. In the last moments of his life, he looked at Ellie and he said, Sarah.
Oh, referring back to his daughter from the first game.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
Now, I thought that would have been dope. That's the way Neil Druckmann originally wanted that scene to go.
Wow.
Troy Baker said, nah, I don't think that this is the right. I think that's out of place because, they went through years of a journey together. So can we film it without that? And so that's the scene that we end up getting because Neil said, yeah, it just didn't fit. When they filmed it, it just didn't fit. So they took it out.
That's crazy, Vaughn. I have never heard that story before.
That's wild, isn't it?
That is insane, man. Do you think, to be honest, comparing the two, though, I think that final scene that they went with, I think that just hits different, man. It would have been incredible to hear him, yell out Sarah, but I do understand that, he's been around Ellie all of these years. Like you said, they've had that long journey together. It could have been a little out of place, but
out of place, yeah, and that's why they pulled it because it just nowhere else is Sarah really mentioned, and she's not really mentioned that much later in the first game after what happened because years have passed, and let's be real, Ellie is his daughter. She's his daughter now.
Definitely.
So not to say he didn't care about Sarah or he forgot about her because when Ellie walks through his house, there's pictures of Sarah in the house.
Yes, indeed.
Which is, so that's another scene too that we got to talk about too. There's a whole lot of stuff in this game, man.
It's so much, brother. Even like you just brought up when you go into the house, did you see the watch that Sarah gave Joel where Ellie finds it and it still has the crack in there and he held on to it?
Still has the crack.
Just so many small details, but just amazing. Let me, man, we're going to just jump around, Vaughn. I'm going to tell you, I have no plan here, brother. We are just going on the fly. But let me ask you, so we get past Joel's death and all of that stuff. Did you think that the game, because I did hear this too, did you think the game was, I guess, it started off kind of slow? Because for me, I liked the character building. I liked that they gave more of Ellie's story and then her love interest, man, what is her name, man? The names are just escaping me. Dina, yes, Dina. Thank you so much, Vaughn. Dina, just seeing their relationship. And did you hear like the different stories that they were telling each other, like on the horse ride when Dina was talking about her sister and kind of some of the crazy things that they had to get into? I mean, just such amazing detail to the characters, man. Just incredible, brother.
Yeah, I didn't. See, to me, it didn't feel like the game was slow to me. It wasn't a slow build up. What I would compare a slow build up to me is Red Dead Redemption.
Oh man,
now, I love that game. That's an awesome game. I love that game, but it had a slow build up. It was holding your hand for a long time.
I agree.
This game didn't feel like that to me. It felt like, we're continuing this journey. You know these characters, but at the same time, you don't have to have played No, I'm not saying that right, but you don't have to have played the first one or experienced the first one. You could just jump into this, and in a matter of time, you could know what's going on without having to play the first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the writing was excellent.
I agree, brother. I 100% agree. Didn't mean to cut you off, Vaughn. Go ahead, brother. My bad.
I was going to say, I'm with you. The writing on this was excellent. Again, I just do not see how people can say that this game didn't get them in the fields, you know?
Oh, man. Let me ask you something, Vaughn. Since we jumping around, we ain't got really no format what's going on. What was some of the... I want to know your opinion, because I'm going to tell you mine, brother. What was one of the touching scenes? Because there was a couple of them in here, brother, that got me in my feels, like you said, Vaughn. What was one of the... I mean, it doesn't have to be the biggest moment to you, but what was one of the biggest scenes to you that made you say, golly, that really got me? Because I think we might have the same one, brother. I'm curious to know what yours is.
Okay, I have two. Okay. I'm going to break it down in two ways. I have my favorite game moment and my favorite story moment.
Okay.
My favorite story moment, speaking of the storytelling and all that, was Joel and Ellie in the flashback on her birthday.
Oh, man!
Took her to the aquarium.
That got me, brother. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
man. Because at number one, it wasn't a lot of scenes with Joel and Ellie together. Okay, so that moment meant a lot. It's because think about it, all the scenes that Joel and Ellie had, it was contentious. It was, you lied. Mm-hmm. You lied to me. Blah blah blah. This was a time where they were on the same page. He was still kind of that mentor figure, father-daughter figure. He went out of his way to make sure that her birthday was something that she would always remember, which is what she was doing. Remembered it in the flashback. So that was my favorite story moment. My favorite game moment was, and I don't know why this sticks out, but the SUV ride with
when
Ellie and Jesse.
Yes, when they were trying to get away and they were jumping into the Jeep, and oh man, that was incredible. Oh, that was a good scene, Vaughn.
Yeah. The camera work was right, like you were in the back seat.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Yeah. I agree with you, brother. That was one heck of a scene. From going from Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy, which I have yet to play. It's been upstairs for like almost 2 years. In the wrapper, brother.
It's still in the wrapper.
It's still in the wrapper, man.
You kill me every time you say
Oh, man. But I tell you, man, going from those two games to this and Uncharted 4, I loved Uncharted 4, but it has some slow sections in the game that kind of slowed the action down to a halt, almost as it was. But it was still a great game. But coming from that to The Last of Us Part 2, some of those, I don't know if they would be called QTEs, but, cinematic scenes, as it were just unbelievable. And that Jeep scene was absolutely incredible, man. Seeing how you had to shoot them off, it was just, phenomenal, man. But I'm going to tell you, Vaughn, speaking of the best scenes and all, our favorite scenes, I guess, the most touching scene to me, and I think it was the same, but it was when it was on her birthday, and when Joel and she was like, "Would you get me a dinosaur?" And you just as the player, you're like, "Yeah, I know it ain't no dinosaur. I know whatever." Right. But then
go ahead.
It's like, oh shucks, it's a real T-Rex. This is crazy. Yes, indeed. But I tell you that the most touching part to me, though, of that whole flashback, that really, hey, man, I ain't going to lie to you, brother. I got a little misty-eyed here, brother.
Somebody was cutting some onions in the kitchen.
Huh?
Somebody was cutting some onions in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah, brother. Yeah, man. Absolutely, brother. Cutting up some onions, man. Yeah, man. But, it was the scene where they were in. He had got her the the astronaut helmet.
Yes.
And they were sitting there, and, you know, he was like, wait, you know, he gave her the tape, and she put the headphones on, and he was like, close your eyes. And it was just like, man, and as she's going on this journey in her imagination, of course, it was such a throwback to anybody that's played The Last of Us DLC when Ellie was with Riley, and they were in the arcade, and she was doing the same thing, and you could see, like, it was supposed to be the arcade screen, like, lighting up on her face as she's imagining. It was just such an amazing throwback to that. And hearing the announcer counting it down, and then she really feels like she's, like, blasting off into outer space. And then after it's over, it's like, wow, that wasn't the part that got me. Well, I mean, I guess it was the whole build-up. But then when they left out of the what is it called? The rocket, the space rocket, or whatever. You know what I mean? Vaughn? Spaceship. Thank you, Vaughn. When they got out, and Joel had gave it a pendant, and, you know, said, "Welcome back to Earth." I said, "God dang, man."
Yeah. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah, I said, man, that was just incredible, man. Absolutely amazing. Definitely was a bit of a, misty-eyed moment for me, brother. It was incredible. But I'm going to tell you, my favorite scene, well, I mean, it's so hard to say favorite. It's like you said, Vaughn, you got two of them. But I'll just say one of my favorite scenes was when you played as Abby, and you had to fight when you were going into the village, I believe, with
Liv.
Yeah, yes, thank you. You saving me on these names, brother. You're saving me. But yeah, when you were going through the village with Lev, and then you had that boss fight with the guy, and you, like, sliced his whole face, like half of his jaw was hanging off. Oh my gosh, that was incredible.
In a couple moments where you thought it was going to be over, and it kept going, it just went to another level.
Yes, indeed, brother. I was just engrossed in that moment, man. Just so shocked at how amazing I mean, Vaughn, I'm going to tell you, brother, graphically, and I know I'm jumping all over here. My bad, Vaughn, but
no, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, man. Graphically, good grief. That scene right there, that was just amazing to me. When Abby sliced his face with the machete or whatever kind of knife it was, and he was, like, trying to choke her out, and you could just see, like, his flesh hanging by the side. God, dog. Incredible.
This is a graphical masterpiece, in my opinion. I mean, anybody can say what they want, but there was moments when, in the grow house, when Dina and Ellie were talking, when they were just conversating, and they didn't even say anything, but the emotion was on their face, just like if you watch the movie. And it's like, I know what she's thinking, just from the expression. And for a video game to come from where we used to have games, where you had to imagine these things, to now actually seeing them work that out, where you can see the expression and you know what she's thinking without her even having to say anything. But getting back to that moment with that fight, and you can see the flesh and all. Oh, masterpiece.
Absolutely incredible, brother. Absolutely, man. Like you said, that was another interesting point you just brought up, Vaughn. Yeah, I would just pan the camera around to Ellie's face just to see the emotion on her face, just to see if she, like if she had, like, this puzzling look on her face or whatever. Because, like, when I would sneak up on, like, some of the enemies and I would kill, oh, man, hold on, Vaughn. Hold on, brother. What about the violence in this game, brother? I'm going to tell you, Vaughn, I have played a ton of games, man. I mean, Doom, Gears, Mortal Kombat, whatever you want to throw out there, I've seen it. And for the most part, I've played it. A lot of graphically violent games, man. But The Last of Us Part 2, brother, it gave me, I don't know, brother. It was like another level. Like when you lined up the silencer of your, like, pistol and you headshot somebody, god dang.
Oh, the sound engineer was on point.
Oh, man.
Those weapons were, you felt that.
You felt it, Vaughn.
a lot of moments where I was like, ooh, ooh, oh. That happened in a while. I don't know the last game that I've done that.
Me either. I'm telling you, Vaughn. I mean, it was just some thing. And I loved it, though. I was like, man, this is incredible. I wasn't all offended. Oh, this is too violent. No, I was like, this is exactly what I want. It was just moments when you poke somebody with the knife, Vaughn. Did you ever go like, oh, God, dog?
I'm going to give you another moment where I felt that. What about when Abby first met Yara and Lev and she was being hung?
Yes.
It was almost like her eyes was about to pop out.
Yes, man. Oh, my gosh.
The veins in her neck were popping.
Yes, indeed.
I'm like, get her.
Like it's an emergency.
Lev was going over attending to Yara because that's his sister.
Of course.
I'm like, get her down. She only got a couple of seconds. You know what I'm saying? It's
exactly. It was crazy.
The graphics were like, but going back to what you were saying about the violence. Again, Neil Druckmann, because I'm so into the game, I wanted to know the behind the scenes and what they were thinking and all that.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm talking about the violence, he said the first game, The Last of Us Part 1, was a clean game. You know, think about this. It was clean. He described it as clean. The last, I guess, when you're coming to the ending, and then Joel got real wild. And then it got dirty. This game was the opposite. He said it started off with Ellie being dirty, and she got worse until the end.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, because Ellie was on another level.
Woo, man. Go ahead, Vaughn.
Another thing about this game, while I'm thinking about it, he said that the mechanic. Did you notice this? The mechanics were different in this game, where if you killed an enemy this way at this time, and you had this person with you, like Dina, they fixed the game so that it would learn and it would grow, and she would get more violent. It would, it was a certain time.
Wow.
And then, because there was one time when you learned a new skill, and I cannot remember for the life of me what it is, but she learned a new skill, and Dina was like, oh, God, Ellie. She reacted because she noticed that Ellie was just a beast.
Monstrous, man.
And she reacted to that. They did that on purpose because they wanted you to not even know that you were, as Ellie, she was getting worse. She was just becoming a beast. Somebody described her as a panther. She, in that fight scene with her and Abby, they said,
man.
Abby was like what did they say? She was like a bull.
Mm-hmm.
But Ellie was like a panther. She was fast, quick, agile. She moved around, and then Abby was like the bull.
Right. I can see that. I can see it, man, for sure. Are you still there, Vaughn?
Still here, but I was just thinking about what you were saying about the violence, man. Yeah, this was over the top.
Was
over the top.
It
wasn't. It's like this is the world that you're in.
Absolutely, man, and this is just what happens on the daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. And just getting back to when Abby was being hung, just going back to the graphical detail, did you notice after she got, cut down and,
mm-hmm.
the rope was taken off, that rope scar stayed around her neck?
Yes, I noticed that.
I said, what amazing detail. Just crazy.
The detail was out of this world.
Incredible, man. Absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't believe it. Just, man, another thing. Let me ask you this, how you felt about this, Vaughn. Talking about Ellie's violence and just her lust for revenge to get back at these people. When you were going through as Ellie, going through all of these different people, and you get to the aquarium and you kill, the woman that was pregnant, Abby's, the guy that she was trying to get back with, but
yeah,
kid on the way, and then the dogs, man, when you killed the dog, how did you feel? Because we're just jumping around.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you were actually playing as Abby and you had to go back down, to the aquarium and see them dead, see the dog dead? Because that was the first body you saw was the dog. And she was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And you see them. How did you feel, brother? Because I don't want to tell you how I felt, brother. You're the guest. I got to show you some manners.
I have a dog, and what's funny about this is you had killed dogs in the game as Ellie.
Yes.
So then they got me. They got me because Naughty Dog got me because up until this point I'm killing dogs as Ellie and I'm popping them off. I'm like, oh yeah, you're not coming after me.
Exactly.
But then they get you feeling for this particular dog, and I don't remember the dog's name.
Yeah, me neither.
They've had you playing with the dog and the squeaky toy and all this. and I believe it was before this when in the camp when you go and train when you were Abby and you go through and you have to pick the dog and you pick that one because that was Mel's dog or whatever.
Yes.
And when you come to the aquarium and you see the dog there, oh man, that was another moment where I was like, no. And I was like, wait a minute, I've been killing dogs this whole game. If I was Ellie, this dog would have tore my throat out. But I don't care. I love this dog. They flipped it. They got me.
Yeah, man. I think the part that really got me too, though, was when Lev was afraid and she had pulled the bow out on the dog and was about to shoot him, and she was like, no, he's not going to attack you. And then Abby had said, do you want to pet him? And, it was like you said, that led up to the squeaky toy, throwing it and all. It was like, God dang, I feel so bad right now.
Yeah.
Felt horrible, man.
Let me ask you this. Do you remember before the game came out, there was such an uproar, I believe it was last year, when people found out that they were going to be killing dogs in the game and people...
Yeah, man. I remember.
I thought that was the most craziest thing in the world. I'm like, we kill dogs all the time in video games.
Exactly. This is normal, man. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I mean, Neil Druckmann, he did throw in the caveat that, hey, you don't have to kill them, but... They can get it. They can get it. And you're right, Vaughn. During that whole section with Ellie, I was picking dogs off left and right, man, not thinking anything about it. Like, man, you trying to kill me? I got to get to you first. I was stabbing them. It didn't matter, brother. I was trying to survive.
Yeah. You think about that mechanic that they introduced with the dog, with the scent.
Yeah, man. Oh,
I don't think they used it enough. They showed you, and then later on, I tried to kind of utilize that, but I was like, my best option is just pick them dogs off. I don't give a darn about them. I don't care about the trail. I know they're coming after me, so I'm just going to keep them from getting on that trail in the first place.
Exactly. Most definitely, man. It was just, this game... How did you feel emotionally playing this game, Vaughn? Because I'm going to tell you, once again, played so many games, man, tons of games. And I'm going to tell you, it was some scenes in this game I felt like legit guilty, bad, and confused on which way do I go, brother? It was like, man, for the first half, you're playing as Ellie. That's my girl. Been rocking with her since the first one. And then here comes Abby. And I'm going to tell you, man, I had nothing but revenge on my mind when it came to getting back at Abby. And then they have you playing as her. And I'm like, man, it ain't no way. I'm not warming up to this character. She just killed Joel, and she's just a bad person in my mind. But then you get into her story, Vaughn. And I believe when you of course you play as her early on in the game, but when her journey officially starts, I think it's when she's looking for a father, right, Vaughn, where he's out looking for animals or something like that?
Yeah, he's kind of training her. And she's, learning how to track, learning how to kill animals, hunting, and all that. Yeah, that was in her earlier stages where he was kind of taking her under his wing, and taking her out in the woods and showing her how to survive.
Right, right. Yeah, and then I think it was the zebra, right? The zebra got caught in some barbed wire or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, she had to release him. And then it was like, I'm trying to figure out, okay, where does she fit into the story? Because I'm going to be honest, Vaughn, I had no idea where she
Who
fit.
this person is.
What I thought was maybe she was a person that knew the Fireflies, not a Firefly, but maybe knew the woman, the sister that was in the first one that told Joel, if you deliver Ellie, then we'll give you back your guns and all of that stuff. Well, she was in the second game, and talking about the consequences of what would happen to Ellie, but I thought that maybe she knew her. I didn't know she was a Firefly, but go ahead, Vaughn. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just going to say, at that point, I'm with you. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, okay, Naughty Dog, y'all taking me on the ride. I'm just going to go because I can't figure it out. I'm just going to ride. I'm here. I'm just going to ride with you.
Right. That was me, man. So when you go to that scene after you free the zebra or whatever and all of that jazz, and you go back to the hospital, and then you find out that excuse me, that it was her father that was doing the surgery on Ellie, and Joel shot him in cold blood. Or did he stab him? I forget. But I said, God dang, I didn't see that coming a mile away. I mean, hey, man, some people might have saw it. I had no idea. And it was just a mind blow.
Now, when she walked back into the hospital, I'm like, okay, this looks familiar. I still hadn't put it together.
Right.
Until, and I was like, oh, it was another one of those drop the mic moments. Yes. And I was like, okay, Naughty Dog. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now I see what you're doing. I'm playing as now. A lot of people, you weren't alone. A lot of people had problems with playing the person who killed Joel. But that moment right there, I was like, okay, I see what y'all doing. Y'all gonna switch it again. Remember, I said earlier there was another point where, kind of like with The Walking Dead, this game is parallel to what they did. You haven't watched the most recent couple of seasons, but basically, long story short, Negan or Rick, you know who Rick is. Rick is the good guy of the story.
Okay. Gotcha.
And he's got a band of people in his camp. So we've been following Rick from season 1 up until where we are now, and they run into this group, and the bad guy is Negan, and he has a group. I mean, he has a whole region. He's a bad dude. But the story is telling you at this point, Walking Dead is telling you, if we had been following Negan, the bad guy, from the beginning instead of Rick would look like he was the bad guy, because Rick does some things to Negan and his people that are questionable. But he's the good guy, so we go along with it. We go, okay, well, you shouldn't have really done that. But the story is flipping to say, well, not everybody in this story is a good guy and not everybody is a bad guy, because had Negan been the one we were following since the first season and Rick came along and did this exact same thing, we would think Rick was the bad guy. So saying all that, so this is what Naughty Dog did with this game, which I think that people should give it credit for what they did. Yes, you are playing someone who killed your favorite character, but they flipped it to make it so that you could understand. If you look at it from her point of view, she's not the bad guy. Ellie is the bad guy. Joel, well, actually, not even Ellie. Joel was the bad guy.
Yeah.
Ellie just happens to be, because remember in that scene where Abby broke in to the theater and Jesse came flying through the door.
Woo, man! Oh my gosh! Yeah, that was crazy.
And Lev had put the arrow in Tommy's knee,
right?
And she gun to his head, and she said, stand up and drop your weapon." I'm gonna point something out. When Ellie said, "Okay, I understand what you did. I know Joel killed your dad because I'm the one who had the cure," or whatever her line was.
Right.
If you go back and look at that scene, Abby did not realize that this is that girl. Now, being a Firefly, she heard the stories. But she didn't know. She was after Joel the whole game. I mean, her whole life.
Right.
This girl trained to be a warrior, and I'm going to kill this guy who killed my dad, who changed my life. So my whole life is wrapped up in stopping this man. She didn't know anything about this is the person. And if you look at the look on her face, she didn't even say anything. She stopped for a second and was like, oh, which I think has something to do with her telling her when they had that first fight. And she said, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you. He's like, well, why would you let her go?
Yeah.
That's why. Because, okay, I feel you. You were the person who would have saved the world. So I'm going to give you a chance to get out of this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man.
So, saying all that to say, that's the parallel between the Walking Dead thing and this game is they made you, or they made me anyway. I felt Abby. I felt
Me
where
too.
she was from. Man, they made me like Abby.
They did. They made me like her too, man. God, dog, they did.
I don't like her, but they made me feel for Abby. I understood where she was coming from.
They did too, man.
They did a good job with that.
They did, absolutely, playing both sides. Just Abby's whole struggle, the adventure with Abby and Lev, and when she went back to the place that she had left Lev and her sister at, and then she had came back and was looking for him and got him out of there. It was just the adventure, man. I did not know. Good gosh, Vaughn, when that woman was like pounding on what's her name? What was Lev's sister's name again?
Yara.
Yara, yeah. When she was pounding on her arm, I was like, God,
when she said break her wings.
Yeah, break her wings, yeah. I was like, good grief, and we saw that scene years ago. Because I think that was one of the scenes they had introduced the game with, or maybe the second time they were talking about The Last of Us Part 2. But as the game was going on and her arm was getting worse and worse, and you had to go out there and you had to get like the pills or the anesthesia or whatever it was for them to do the surgery on her arm to cut it off. I didn't see. It was just so many twists and turns, stories within the story. That was just incredible to me. And then after she gets up and what is it, Vaughn? They patch her up as much as they can. And
amputate the arm?
Yeah, amputate the arm. And, she's asking, how's your arm? She's like, well, it's a lot better than it was. And then she goes on the adventure with you. Mm-hmm. And, she's like getting around with a one arm. And, Abby's checking on her, asking her, is she okay? And then the crazy, just so many story beats with this game on. What about when they were going out there to find Lev, and Lev gets back to his village and she had to kill her mother, man. God, dog.
Now you'll have to help me on that, because I'll be honest, full disclosure, I was kind of sick during that part of the beat of the story.
Okay.
And I didn't really get, because at that point I thought I was at the end of the game and I was trying to get to the end, right? So I was kind of sick and out of it, and I was kind of like just playing through it. Right. And I kind of rushed through that part, and I didn't understand why Lev killed her mom.
Well, it was because her mother was trying to kill her.
Okay.
She was trying to kill her basically because I believe she was, saying that she didn't feel like a girl. I think it had to do with that. And that was another thing I'm going to tell you, Vaughn. I didn't see where Naughty Dog was pushing any message here.
Nah, they weren't.
I didn't see that.
People are taking that too far. I mean, because this is how I interpreted it. And I could be wrong, but this is how, when I was playing through the game, and to be honest, when she said that she had, is that why you shaved your head, or is that why you cut your hair?
Right.
That society was set up for the men to cut their hair. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you just to keep it short, it reminded me, it was a Mulan moment. If you've ever seen the movie, the Disney movie Mulan, it's the exact same thing. Mulan wanted to be a soldier. She made herself look like a soldier. Lev did the exact same thing. Lev cut her hair.
Right.
she looked like a guy, and their society was set up that the men were the warriors. You had to cut your hair, and she fit the part.
Absolutely, man. I didn't know that though, Von. I saw
Mulan?
Yeah, I saw Mulan years ago. That was like back in the 90s, right? I think like 99.
Yeah.
98, somewhere around there. I didn't remember that part though, Vaughn. Be honest with you, brother. I did not remember that part, man.
Yeah. Mulan was she's female. She wanted to be a soldier. She cut her hair and dressed up and got into the army.
Right. Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't see where people were up in arms. I thought people, like you just said, Vaughn, they were really blowing that way out of the water.
Yeah.
I didn't see where Neil Druckmann was trying to sway anybody to feel any kind of way. I just felt like Neil Druckmann was in there telling the best story that he could, him and his team, and they concentrated on that story. And to me, it was one of the best stories I have played through in years, brother. Years.
Yeah.
I say to me, that well, I'll save that to the very, very end, Bob. Very end, brother. But talking about the game, some more here. I would say, Vaughn, what about when you get to that? Man, I'm trying to make sure we covered most things here, because we just jumping around. But what about when you had to get down to the beach, brother? When you shot? Okay, all right. Before we get to that point, the other part that I really liked was, did you see the goddamn Rat King, brother? Did you see that Joker coming out with all of the different bodies all glued onto him at once? And just looked disgusting. I was fearing. I had fear, Vaughn. I had legit fear, brother. I'm fighting that Joker, man.
And then the names of the different ones miss me, but when you thought you were at the end and the one peeled off of it, then it took it to a whole nother level.
Oh my gosh, man!
My goodness. I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm getting that. And that one peeled off, and I'm like, now I got to fight both of y'all.
Right?
Come on.
Man, just so many incredible, just an amazing game, brother. Just incredible.
And I'm not even gonna lie. That fight had me yelling in here. My wife was looking at me a couple of times. Oh, come on! I had you. I had one more trap. What do you mean? Come on! Where's my? So I was going through it.
I
with the
feel you, man. Oh my gosh, just a heck of a boss battle. Just fantastic, man. But I tell you, when things started to take a bit of not a twist, because it wasn't that, but I started wondering where the story was going to go even more so, because that was the whole thing about this game that really stuck out to me. I didn't know which way it was going to go. Yeah. I had no idea. Usually you play a game, it's A to Z for the most part. You might have a few kind of cool beats in between, but with this game having these two protagonists on opposite sides of the fence, I don't think I've ever played anything like that before. The closest thing that I could say, and this is me personally, I'm sure it's been a ton of other games that have done it, but the game that comes to my mind when you're talking about two different protagonists on two different paths, I would say would be Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty.
Yeah.
When you had to play as Raiden, but it was nowhere near done to this level, not even close, not even.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but you're
close.
Right.
Yeah. So it was like, and a lot of people didn't like Raiden. I thought Raiden was a cool character. I did want to play as Snake more so. They did it with Halo. Yeah, it's been a few games they've done it with, but I don't know any game that has done it to this level. This was just incredible storytelling in every single turn and twist in the game. I didn't know it was coming next. So when Ellie had got back and everything was done the first time where they had fought each other, let me ask you about that first boss fight. That's what I wanted to ask you about, Vaughn. When Ellie and Abby met each other for the first time for the boss fight, you're playing as Abby and you have Ellie on the other side. How did you feel knowing that you were going to have to, well, we thought we were at the time, going to have to kill Ellie? Because, brother, I was so conflicted, man. I was like, I don't know why you're making me do this, Naughty Dog. I like Ellie, but I like Abby. I don't know which way to go. I was so conflicted, brother. How did you feel with Naughty Dog throwing you in that position as a player?
I felt like I was betraying Ellie, you know?
Yes.
And I was like, okay, one of my tactics when I'm playing a game like this is let me get a save point, especially if they'll let you save anywhere. And I said, okay, Naughty Dog, if y'all going to make me kill, y'all already, killed off Joel, but what are y'all going to do? Y'all going to kill Ellie next? Or y'all going to make me kill her? I said, okay, I'm going to get a save point because if it comes to a choice I got to make, I'm going to save where I kill her to see what happens, and then I'm backing up and I'm going to let her kill Abby. That's out. Right. Oh, I didn't know.
Right, exactly. I feel you on that.
They had me on the ropes, brother. I was like, I don't know what they're getting ready to pull, and the way she was hitting, talking about the sound, and you felt those punches. Oh my goodness! And then when she was setting those traps, and sometimes I couldn't avoid them because I was trying to get to her.
Right.
And then when I figured out what I needed to do to get to Ellie, and she was just throwing those hands.
I know, man. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
I was feeling guilty, Vaughn. Every time I would hit Ellie with one bam, bop, 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 bop. I was like, dang, man, I can't believe you got me up here beating up Ellie. This is ridiculous. Why? It was just such a conflict of emotions that I have never felt in a video game before. Never, because at the end of it, Vaughn, as the player, we don't know, like you said, we don't know what's going to happen. Are we going to actually kill Ellie? Is this going to be the end of her story? What the heck is going to happen?
What is going to happen from here?
Exactly. Like, this can't be the end with the world. You can't have me kill Ellie. So it was like from that point, Vaughn, after, the fight was over and Ellie's on the ground bleeding, and like we had talked about earlier, when Abby said, if I see you again, I'm going to kill you, pretty much. She let her go, like you said, Vaughn. I'm saying to myself, well, what the heck? Okay,
now
what's
what?
left now?
Now what? What we doing? What we doing here?
Exact. I'm going to tell you, Vaughn, at that moment, I figured, okay, journey is over. Maybe a scene is left, and then roll credits. That's going to be the end of it. But then, man, it was just incredible. Again, you see Ellie. She's in a good place. Her and Dina, they have a place by itself. And, Dina's had the baby now. And, it seems like they're just living their life. Everything is okay. You start gathering the sheep. It was kind of like a Red Dead Redemption 2 moment for me there.
Yeah.
Gathering the sheep and, all of the violence, all of that stuff is over with. And then when Ellie goes into the bunker, this whole time I'm like, okay, this is, what do you call that, Vaughn? A prelude? I don't know. Like,
I'm thinking like an outro.
It's like this is the build up to, show that Ellie is, she's finally happy. She left all of that stuff in the past, and we're moving on. That's going to be the end. And then when you go into the barn and you're gathering all of the sheep up, and then it's that one sheep that's left. And then, you're trying to get it into the stable. And then Ellie starts to flash back to when Joel was getting hit with the golf club. I said, oh, shucks. Yeah, man. I was like, oh, my gosh, what's going to happen now? And then she's crying with the baby in her hand, and Dina has to come out there and help her. Yeah, I was like, good grief. And then, I figured, well, hey, of course she has some what is
PTSD.
it? PTSD. Thank you, Vaughn. Yeah. PTSD. And her and Dina are gonna get through it. But then the indicator to me that this is not at all over was when Tommy came to the house, brother.
Yeah. Oh, can I back up for a second?
Sure, Vaughn. Absolutely, brother.
Here's another. This was another deleted scene that Neil Druckmann said that they cut from the game because the pacing wasn't right. They were going to show Ellie going out and hunting a wild boar, and they said what she was going to do. And I almost think they should have kept this in there. It would have been. I don't know. I like what they did with the sheep, but I think this would have hit it even harder. Mm-hmm. They said that she was hunting a boar. They had it all in the game, but they just cut it all out. And then when she was killing the boar, the screams of the pig were mixing. Her PTSD was setting in. It was mixing with Joel's scream. Of course, he didn't scream, when the actual real scene happened. But in her mind, he was screaming, and they blended the two screams together, and she was just kind of out of it.
Wow,
it's so impactful. And then of course she went into the whole sweats, and she was shaking up on the ground. Exactly. The pig next to her, she came to, and then she realized, okay, she got PTSD.
Exactly.
But they said they had to cut it because it kind of threw the pacing of that whole barn. Scene
off. Okay, yeah. Gotcha. Man, Vaughn, brother, I feel embarrassed, brother. You came in prepared. I came in halfway cocked, man.
No, we just kicking it. We just talking about
the game. Man. Absolutely, brother.
That stuck out to me because I was thinking, man, you should have kept that in there. But it still worked. It still worked with the lamb.
Most definitely.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure, man.
A lot of people had problems still sticking with that part of that area of the game that we're talking about. I saw a lot of people had complaints about Tommy. They said that, now he's about it. Now he want to go.
Yeah. When he was at first, he was the guy that was saying, no, I don't think we need to go that route. I think. Right. Oh, go ahead. Please continue your question, Vaughn. Go ahead, brother.
That was what do you think about Tommy? Being that I saw people saying they didn't like the fact that he was all about it now after the fact, and they he got on Ellie. You living in this nice cushy life now, and I got a bead on where she is. How do you feel about Tommy in that moment?
You know what, brother? Now that's a really good question, Vaughn, because if you remember, and I know you do remember, Vaughn, I know you do, in the beginning, like we just were talking about, he was trying to tell Ellie, let's not do it, let's not go through with it, but as it stood, Tommy, he went out there a little early. Of course, he was having a bit of a spat with his wife at the time, and, she didn't want him to go, and Ellie was pressuring him to go, so he went, and of course, he was out there, trying to get it in or whatever, but I think what happened with Tommy, and this is I think this was a realistic scene too, like how life actually is. At that time, Tommy, him and his wife, they were separated. They weren't with each other. He had got shot in the leg, or I think his leg was badly
he was limping.
Yeah, limping, where he didn't have full control over like his leg. He wasn't at full. His leg wasn't at full capacity or whatever, being able to perform. And I think that for Tommy, he was like, shoot, I've lost everything, and I've lost everything kind of because of you, listening to you. If I hadn't listened to you and listened to my wife and let this thing go, I would have still been with my wife. I wouldn't have, had less use, with my leg. I would have been able to have lived my life. But because of you, I'm in this situation, and you owe me. That's kind of how I felt. I felt like Tommy was basically saying that, I did all of this for you, and now that you're situated, you're living out here, you're comfortable, now you want to walk away? No, I sacrificed everything for you, and I need you to do the same for me. And isn't that how people are, Vaughn, in real life, man?
Exactly, yeah.
It's
just for you, and now you want to turn your back on me.
Exactly. So for me, I could understand. I'm not saying it was right. I don't think Tommy should have done it. But to me, it really was like a mirror to how life really is, man. That's how people are, you know.
That's good. Yeah,
you know, so I thought it was a perfect scene. I thought it was just very well written, very well done. And then, you know, Ellie's trying to walk away and Dina comes out there and talking to him, you know, like, I can't believe you're going to ask her to do that. It was just such a realistic scene to me. It spoke to me. Like, man, that's just how we are as humans, man. I mean, we got that screwed up side to us. Like, well, hey, I did all of this for you. You owe me. You know, so.
I feel the same way. I feel like at that point in time, Tommy had a lot of guilt because if it wasn't for him in the situation with Joel, you know, it was because of him that what happened to Joel happened. So and he couldn't save Joel. Number one. Well, number one was he kind of felt guilty for putting him in that situation. Number two, he couldn't save Joel. Number three, he didn't get Abby, you know, because they had to come rescue him. They had to come after him. He didn't get the job done. Right. And not only did he not get the job done, he came back worse than what he came there with. He had an arrow in the knee.
Exactly.
His eyeball was shot out from the back of his head because of Abby. His brother's dead. You know, Jesse's dead. He couldn't save Jesse. So he got to come home, and the wife told him he shouldn't have gone in the first place. And then think about this. This had been, at least a year later, because remember, before that scene, that's when Abby had the knife to Dina's throat, and Ellie was saying, she's pregnant. So she let her go. So now the baby is almost a year, I think?
I would say that. I think his name was JJ, I think was the baby's name.
Yeah, JJ, yeah. So it had been some time where Tommy don't have nothing left. This is all he got is revenge. So now his thing is this Abby is out there and she's, you know, everything is gone. So he's in the place where Ellie was.
Yes, indeed.
He's caught up to where she was, and she's like, you know, dude, she let me go. I got a life. Yeah. So yeah, I feel that was real.
Yeah, definitely, man. It was definitely a impactful scene, and with that, brother, you know, you back out there in the streets, man. Out there hunting for Abby again, and then, man, I'm gonna tell you something, Vaughn. God, dog, Gabe was just so phenomenal. But the scene where, I mean, I want to ask you about this, Vaughn. When you switch back to Abby, they're in California, her and Liv, and you're going through, you know, these different houses. And you stumble. I'm going to tell you, brother, when I went into the house and I just stumbled in there, you know, I think you got to go underneath the garage door to get in there. So I thought it was just a random house, right? Yeah. And you go inside and then you go down into the basement or whatever and you see the radio down there. And you get in contact with supposedly the fireflies. Yeah. And I was like, oh shucks, I might have found did you feel like you had just stumbled across that by mistake, Vaughn, or did you know that was where you were supposed to go? Because I didn't. I thought I just stumbled across it.
I know because of the dialogue that you were supposed to find it, because the whole scene setup was they had gotten the address of a lead. Right. Because when Lev and I was like, well, when it switched back to them, I'm like, who is this? Because I thought it was Ellie because of it panned up. And the reason why I'm so familiar with it is because I actually replayed. That's funny you're talking about that, because I replayed that scene today.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, I went back and replayed that scene. And when the scene opens up, it pans up from the tennis shoes up, and I thought it was Ellie, but it was actually Lev. And I'm like, oh, when I first played this, I'm like, okay, that's why I thought it was Ellie. But then you see that it's Abby and Lev, and some time has passed because Lev has hair.
Yeah.
Hair grow out. But in that, and I paid more attention to the dialogue, and they actually are looking for that address. Because when I said, well, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm just going to go to other houses, random houses, and see how the dialogue changes. And she says, well, he goes, it's whatever the number was. It was an even number. And she says, no, it's not going to be on that side of the street because it's not an even number or something to that. They had this number, that they had the address that they were looking for. And so then when you get to the house, so the game did a good job. If you didn't realize, you thought you stumbled across it. But yeah, if you listen to the dialogue, they're actually trying to find that particular address.
Man, I had no idea. Man, kudos to you, boy. God, dog, man.
But yeah, her whole thing now is, okay, see, this is how deep Naughty Dog, the writers, are for this game, man. Mm-hmm. Her story is about redemption at this point. It was revenge and then redemption. Absolutely. And then Ellie was redemption and then revenge. So they're the opposite. The way I look at it is they're the flip side of the same coin. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole lot of points through the game that, if you want to get into it, we can get into it. But yeah, anyway, at this point, she's trying to redeem herself. So she knows she's gotten Joel, she's met this person who she's caring for, and they kind of have that Joel-Ellie relationship.
That's what I thought.
Lev's mentor, and she's trying to show him, well, this is the way you survive. And the way we can survive from this point forward, we need to get back to my family, which is the Fireflies. Mm-hmm. So that's lead, and then there you go. You come across this radio. But what did you think about that scene on the radio? Because I didn't think anybody was going to answer. And I was like, what is going to happen? Yes. And then I got another question for you about that radio scene.
Okay.
So what did you think about that?
All right, first off, the radio scene, man, like I said, for me, I was looking at it from a different perspective. I thought I stumbled across it, like I was just talking about. Went down there, just looking around, seeing what was going on, and I see the radio, and then noticed that the radio, it does work, but I think you had to hook up some electricity to it. So I'm like, oh, shoot, it really works. And then Ellie gets on there. And she starts talking to the Fireflies. I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be amazing. They're going to make it to the Fireflies. This is incredible. So I'm all happy. I'm excited. I'm like, man, finally, the end of the game. Ellie's going to get back with her people, and everybody's going to be good. Lev is going to be in safe hands. It's going to be a happy ending. And then, brother, god dang, man, walk outside and get ambushed, man. I could not believe it, man.
Now, right here at this point, the reason why I went back and played it today is because I wanted to see what if I didn't go back out the garage? But they did such a great job of leading you down the path. See, this is why linear games are not that bad. Because if they do it right, people complain about, oh, this game is linear. But if they do it right, it's amazing. So I went back into that to play that level to see, well, what would happen if we didn't go back out of the garage? If I went back out, the screen door to the back was open.
Yes.
So it would let you go out into the back, but it was no way for you to go anywhere else. You couldn't get over the fence. You couldn't go on either side of the house. Oh. So they made it so. And actually, when I first played through it, I think I was looking at something, or I saw something, supplies, and Lev said, we got to go this way. Mm-hmm. We got to go, said this way, or something to that effect. And I was like, okay, well, I got to go out this way. Right. And then when I went today to do it, I was like, well, I couldn't have gone any other way anyway. But during the actual first time playing through it, he kind of says, well, we need to go this way. So, yeah, when that happened, man, that was another moment. I was like, now, let me ask, here's the question I have for you.
Yeah.
Now, when that happened, people are saying that there's two theories that are floating around out there right now. They're saying that the people that she talked to on the radio are not the Fireflies, but they're the Rattlers. They think the Rattlers set her up. Uh-huh. That the Fireflies are no more, that they died after the end of the first game. And then there's people that are saying, no, the Rattlers are a separate thing. The Fireflies are still out there somewhere at that island. The Rattlers are a whole different thing. They got her. What do you think?
Tag, Vaughn. Great question, man. Good grief. It's like you wrapped up, in my thoughts about this game almost, man. Seriously. Because once that happened, truthfully, brother, I mean, just like you said, I thought that they were posing as the Fireflies. I thought that all of the Fireflies I thought they were dismantled up until this point. Mm-hmm. So when I heard her actually get in contact with this group that was saying they were the Fireflies, I was like, whoa, they're still around. They still exist. But I think it was because during that time when Abby was hanging out with the guy at the aquarium, I thought he had alluded to the Fireflies were no more.
Okay.
That they weren't any no longer around, or they were just dismantled and everybody had just kind of left. So I thought up until that point, which was why it was just much more impactful to me as the player, hearing over the radio that, the Fireflies were still there. They were still around. So I truly thought, like I said, up until that point that, somebody was, I thought they could have been posing as the Firefly, but it wasn't until, now let me say this because I'm all over the place, Vaughn, with my thoughts, brother, but I'll say that once the ambush happened, I said, nah, they were posing as the Fireflies. That was just a setup. That's basically what I was saying, Vaughn. My bad for beating around Mulberry Bush.
You're good. I'm gonna tell you, I don't think that they were posing as them. I think it really was the Fireflies. I'm gonna tell you why.
Okay.
So, first of all, I don't think somebody said, or I think I read this, or maybe I saw it on something, that the time that she got somebody on the radio. So let's say it was the Rattlers on the radio. Mm-hmm. And from the moment that she comes out of the garage, that they wouldn't have been able to get to her that fast or something from whatever radio station they were. But they could have been in the area. So another theory is, if you remember when you were going through the neighborhood, you were forced to fight some, what's the things with the heads that were kind of open. I don't know.
Infected,
the ones that can't see, but they can hear you.
Oh, man. Yeah. Good grief.
There was 2 or 3 of them you had to fight before you found the house. Mm-hmm. There's someone who said, well, maybe they heard you fighting and shooting at those things, and they came wherever they were hiding from or whatever. They heard that, and by the time you came out, they were already on you. So that's another theory.
Vaughn, that's a crazy theory, man, and it actually makes sense.
But here's my opinion on why I think that the Fireflies are who you were talking to, because station on the radio, she kept saying, is someone using this, whatever the words were, I can't remember, but is someone using this channel? Is this channel being used? And the guy says, yeah, he responds and asks her to identify herself. And she says, I'm Abby or whatever. I'm looking for the Fireflies. And I was thinking, well, yeah, if she told him, he could have been pretending. But then he said, where are you? Kind of feeling her out. And I was like, don't tell him where you are. So I was believing that the Rattlers were pretending to be Fireflies too, except for the fact that when you go back and listen to the conversation, he goes, what battalion were you with? And she told him, stationed in the such and such. And he said, yeah, that group has been disbanded or whatever, and we all retreat back to the dome at such and such, and that's where we are. And she was like, okay, you're about to get 2 more members. And he said, well, come toward the dome, we'll find you. So I don't think the Rattlers would have gone through all of that description of where they were. They just would have said, stay where you are, we'll come get you. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, absolutely, man. Definite. Very interesting, Vaughn. God dog, man.
one more thing. At the end of the game, when you go back in, did you notice that when you finish the game, the end screen changes? Remember,
yeah, I heard about what that was. They said I think Neil Druckmann, he had confirmed that Abby and Lev, they made it. They made it to the island, right?
And if you go back and look at that screen, the dome that the guy was describing is in the top left-hand corner. It's in the distance.
Oh, shucks. Are you serious, Vaughn?
Yeah. Load your game back up and look at that scene. Because it changed to the boat is on the beach, and the dome is over in the far distance. You can see it.
Oh, my gosh.
They made it.
Oh, man. God, dog, boy. Hey, brother. Man, you blew my mind with that one. I did not know that was there. Are you serious, Vaughn?
Yeah, I checked it out. At the end of the game, I was like, well, wait a minute. This is not the scene that I had. It was the boat in the water. What is this?
Right.
And what is that structure out there? And then when I went back and played it again today and listened to him describe where they were at now, the new headquarters, and he was telling her something about, we got 200. I think he said we got like 200 people or 2,000. I can't remember.
Right.
But it was a large number. He said, we got about 2,000 or 200 or whatever. And he said we're at the dome, and that's the dome she was looking for.
Hey, Vaughn, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely. See, the thing was with The Last of Us Part 2, and I can tell you that New Game Plus is really looking tempting to me, brother, because I want to upgrade all of my weapons. Oh my gosh, Vaughn. What about the customized weapons, brother?
Oh, yeah.
Good gosh, man. Absolutely incredible. I just want to go back in just to upgrade some of those weapons, but to me, Vaughn, whenever I play a great game, and this is probably a fault of my own, I usually don't want to go, especially if it was such an amazing game, I never want to go back into it because I just want to leave it the way, that I felt. I felt like if I go back into it, I might start picking it apart. Like, oh man, that doesn't make sense, or this doesn't make sense. It's like for me, if a game hits me as hard as The Last of Us Part 2, I just want to leave it in my memory, like it was, man. So I've been avoiding going back and playing it because of that. I don't want to start putting on that other hat because, once you're through it, the bits, the story, where certain things are going to take place. Right. And I just don't want to
spoil it.
Yeah, like
so to speak.
Exactly. So I haven't went back in, but dag, Vaughn, I appreciate you pointing that out. That's incredible.
And I'm glad you said that because, we're the same way in that way. I typically don't do New Game Plus either, but like today, it was like something about that scene. I was like, let me go back and see how they got caught. And I just wanted to see it. So, I don't know, maybe in a couple months or maybe a year or something like that.
Yeah.
I'll think about it and I might go back in and play it, New Game Plus. But I typically don't either. I don't go back and play it. But to pick up on little stuff. But like you said, it's something about, it's like you already know the surprises and stuff. So it's like, well, right now, I'm trying to get through everything I can in my stack. So
right.
That's why I'm not going back.
I feel that. Me too, Vaughn. Me too, man, for sure. But it was one more thing I wanted to talk about, Vaughn. I mean, shucks, man. Let's talk about. Because the gameplay was fantastic. Did you think? Matter of fact, before we get into the other thing I want to talk about, how did you feel about the gameplay? Because for me, let me let you answer first, Vaughn. You're the guest, brother. Good grief. Go ahead, brother.
About the gameplay?
Yeah.
I loved it. Like I said, the when I realized that Naughty Dog, it wasn't just going to be the same Bonnie and Clyde type deal, part 2. They were going to do some new things, and like one of those things I was saying was the gameplay changed as you went along, and it was so subtle that you didn't even know. You just knew, but dang, Ellie is a monster. She's killing like a beast.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love the switch, the two different styles of Abby and Ellie. I mean,
Yes.
Abby was finesse. She was like, Joel taught me how to do this, but I'm adding my flair to it. I'm sneaking up and I'm going to stab him. And Abby was just hands. You know, oh, I don't have a stick. I don't have a axe. My hands are going to do the job. I've trained for this. And two different styles. So that was that. The mechanics of that, I love that. I loved, even though I didn't really use it a lot. I like the fact that the dogs could catch your scent. I love that.
Yeah.
But something that was subtle that I didn't think was going to be a big deal that I really liked that they did was when you killed an NPC and then another NPC said, Julie!
Oh my gosh, Vaughn.
Kill Julie!
Such a great point. Hey, Vaughn, brother, that right there, man. That just reminded me that I truly think, Vaughn, that is why the violence hit different in this game, because when they would yell out their names, I know it's a video game. We both know it's a video game, but it made that NPC seem like a real person, at least even if it was for just a split second. You believed that person had a real life, at least for me. I'll speak for me.
Yeah.
I thought that, man, this was a real person. Just for a second. Just for a split second.
It made you feel that kill, you know?
Exactly, because they'd be like, no. You felt the emotion. I've never... Hey, Vaughn, hold on, brother. God, dog. We got to talk about that for a second, man. Wait a minute. Have you ever, in your years of gaming, have you ever seen another character call out another NPC's name after they're shot, or killed? I've never seen that before.
Now, I'm trying to think, and that's a good question, because I try to think if any other game has done that, and maybe somebody can call in and tell us, well, yeah,
right.
Metal Gear Solid did that, but I think the only thing you would get is Soldier 23 or Soldier whatever. But no, not to hear someone feel like, I just lost my best friend or my patrol buddy. Oh, and talking about the dogs, they were calling the dog Rocco.
Right.
Rocco.
Just insane,
man, come on.
Man.
Who would have thought about that?
I'm telling you,
in
man.
Making a game.
Exactly. Just insane levels of detail, man. That point right there, Vaughn, God, dog, such a great point. I had forgotten about that. But you're right, man. You shoot somebody or they're walking around and they spot them and they're like, oh no, they're down, they're dead or whatever. I don't think they ever said they were dead, but they'd be like, oh no, they would acknowledge that something happened. Just incredible detail, man. God, dog, man.
And there was another scene where I believe I was playing as Ellie behind the house, and I'm pretty sure it was Ellie. And I thought I was doing a good job of sneaking. And maybe I stuck my head out a little too far, and I didn't see a character, and they saw me, and it was like, she's over here in the back corner or behind the gazebo.
Getting specific with it, how about?
And I was like, okay, see, that's what will happen in real life.
Yes.
That's what will happen if someone was hunting you and they had buddies in the house. They're like, she's out here in the backyard.
Giving you the location.
Yeah, attention to detail.
Unbelievable, man. Yes, indeed, Vaughn. Man, I guess, brother, man, I think we've covered a lot, but we gotta get to that. I'm trying to make sure. Is there any other thing you wanted to bring up, Vaughn, before we get to the last, the final scene of the game?
Well, when we were talking before, we were talking about what the things that people were complaining about, and we couldn't understand it, and I found a couple of points, and we went over a lot of them today, but what do you think about the fact that people are upset that they're saying the reason why they're hating on the game is because they're saying Joel and Tommy shouldn't have.
Oh man.
Shouldn't have been caught up like they were.
You know what? That's an excellent question. And I'm not just saying these are great questions because you're here, Vaughn. I mean, they really are. I genuinely mean that, brother. Now, I looked into that one. I looked into that because everybody kept saying the same thing. You're right. Why would Tommy and Joel let their guard down? They've lived in this world for all of these years, and how could they be so relaxed around people they didn't know? Well, I saw a interview with Neil Druckmann where it might have been Kind of Funny Games, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did one too. Yeah.
Okay, and he asked Neil Druckmann about that. Like, well, why were they, so relaxed around this group of people that they didn't know? And pretty much Neil Druckmann said, well, you got to remember, this is something that Joel and Tommy, they do on a regular basis. This is just regular patrol. They go out there, they, shoot, whatever infected are out there. They find survivors and they bring them back to the camp. This is everyday life. So,
or else, how would the camp grow and have gotten so many people?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, right. So he said, so you got to remember that, like I just said, he was saying that they have been doing this for years. So this was just routine for them. Mm-hmm. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. It wasn't anything where their antennas should have been raised. They were just, this was protocol. This is what they were used to doing. And that's how they were able to get caught off guard, because it didn't seem like it was anything out of the ordinary. I mean, Abby, they meet her and they're in the middle of a snowstorm. They're trying to get to safety. They're just trying to get to a safe space. And that chase scene was awesome, by the way. That was an incredible scene.
Yeah, that was good.
With the infected trying to get through the fence and all. That was just dope.
I was on the edge of my chair with that one.
Yeah, brother, absolutely. But yeah, I thought that it was, after hearing, because first off, I didn't even think about that, in that way when that scene played out. I truly thought that, hey, they're trying to survive. They're in the middle of just almost dying. This girl says, hey, I got a spot. Follow me. It's like, shoot, man, we're trying to get to safety. That's all. Yeah. We're just trying to get somewhere safe. So I never thought that was ever an issue in the story. But just to hear Neil Druckmann talk about it and say that, that's just what they were doing, with the daily routine of life, that just made it hit home even more for me.
Do you remember how many years had passed between the first game and this one? I don't remember.
Man, I don't remember.
I want to say 5 years, but I'm not really sure.
I don't know if it was 5. I was going to say 2 to 3, but I'm not sure. People call it, man. Call it and let us know.
I'm sure they will. But let's say, 3 to 5 years. Yeah. Here's my thought. So these two have been going out on patrol. They're in this community. They're part of the community. And if you remember, there's a couple of times where Joel and Tommy mentioned, well, I met with the traders and we did this and such and so forth. And I said, oh, okay, so they're trading outside groups for things. Because I think there was a scene with Ellie and Joel, and he was talking about the guitar, and he said he traded something for something to get the guitar, or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, a couple of times. My point is, a couple of times they mentioned traders, and if you and they knew their names, obviously, because they've traded with these people on several occasions over the years, obviously. Because look at his house. Look at all the stuff he had in his house when she was walking through the house. These people brought this society, almost brought it back to where you really couldn't tell that infected had been in these houses or people had died in these houses.
Very true.
Modern houses. So they didn't just get this stuff, just find the houses like that. They must have been trading with outside people. And now I will agree that being that Joel is on the run from Fireflies, I don't understand the thinking of having a false name. My name is John Jacob Halman Smith when he's trading with outside traders. Why would you give them, well, I'm Joel? Because everybody is looking for this guy named Joel who has a girl who could be the cure. So I think that was just bad, writing on that part. I'm not going to say bad writing, but I don't think...
Yeah, it's questionable, though.
Yeah, that's questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he just loosened up over the years. And that's another thing. He's older. He's not the same Joel that he was in the first game. He's an older guy. He's coming to the end of his life. This girl he's looked after is independent. He still loves her, but there's a strain on the relationship. So him and his brother go out on patrol, and they meet outside people, like you said, and they trade. And the people know him. So it's not strange to me that when Abby comes along and she gets older, she knows the name of Joel. Because Joel, the story is this person named Joel, I can't even remember his last name. This person killed my dad, is named Joel such and such, and I'm going to find him. That's her life mission.
Right.
So it's not strange that she would come across people who spread the story of, well, yeah, I know Joel, and yeah, my cousin is in a trading group, and they know them. If you go this way, blah blah blah, and they follow the breadcrumbs to the area where this Joel is. So people are saying, well, how did she just luck up on them? Well, first of all, it's the adrenaline of saving this unknown girl's life, and like you said, snowstorm coming. We're not going to be able to make it. We need to get somewhere. She jumps in and goes, I got a place where we can go. She still doesn't know who at that point she knows who he is, because Tommy's big mouth said, I'm Tommy, and this is my brother Joe. If you go back and look at that scene, again, without her even saying anything, she kind of double takes and looks at Joel, because she's behind him, and she's got the gun in her hand. She's looking at him like, am I going to pop this dude right here? No. Mm-hmm. But she has her face like, is this the Joel? But she's like, I gotta get these two back to the place, and that's what she says. No, we got a place. We can go to the cabin, and she gets them to come back with her. So yeah, I don't think that's unusual that they would have gone with her, get out of the storm, lay low till we can bring everybody back with us, and you can see if you want to stay for a while or whatever, become part of the group.
Right.
And then once they got them doors shut, it was all over.
It was a wrap, baby. It was a wrap, man.
I'm going to make this last.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you don't get to rush this. I said, oh, man. Oh, this is anger right here. It's a whole nother level. Yeah, that was just incredible, man. Absolutely, brother. Man, that's some great points, though, Vaughn, for sure, man. Yeah. Definitely. But I guess, man, we got to talk about this last scene, brother. I had alluded to it earlier, but when you... Okay, wait a minute. Before we get to that part, God, there's one more thing I want to bring up. Was when the Rattlers, one of the most... And I want to... well, not one of the most amazing scenes. There was so many great scenes in this game, but... One of the interesting scenes here was, you remember when you went back and you were Ellie's character, and you were in California, and you were walking around, and then one of the traps caught Ellie, and then it snagged like her side. God, dog. Yeah. I'm telling you, Vaughn, I thought it was a wrap, brother. I didn't know what to think. I just didn't know. So when the branch hit Ellie's side. Mm-hmm. And she's hanging upside down, and the guy comes back, the same guy that got Abby and Lev. Yeah. He comes out there some kind of way. Abby, I think she sliced one of their necks or something, had a knife. I forgot how she got out of it. But when she had got that semi-automatic, I love that gun. That gun was pure amazement to shoot. That's all I use. Yes, man, the silencer, it was amazing. But when she had the guy on the ground, and he was like, go to the dome, the gold dome or whatever, and then when he gave her all of the information that she needed, and she took the gun and she popped him anyway, I said, man, that felt like, to me, I don't know if you saw it this way, Vaughn, but that felt like an homage to Joel when he popped the girl at the end of the first game.
Yeah, yes.
Is that how you felt about that too, Vaughn?
Yeah, it was. Because he's like, you're just going to come after me anyway. You're just going to come after us or whatever. But
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Man, yes, indeed. I didn't mean to talk over you either, Bob. My bad, brother. But, yeah, man, after that happened and, she's getting down there to the beach and, she, you go through the last couple of stages of the game where they had one of the infected. Did you ever, this is something I didn't get a chance to do, Vaughn. Were you ever able to release one of the infected off of the chain to attack the other people?
Yeah, I was able to do it once, but I didn't do it. It was like three or four I think you could have done, and I could only do it once.
Okay.
They was on me quick.
Exactly. I was like, I didn't even get a chance, man. I couldn't even get over to him. But the hiding in the grass, how it would sway back, just, God, dog, popping up, taking them out. It was just a great, that whole last section, I absolutely loved it. Especially, like I said, with that silencer, that automatic, oh, man, it was great. But we, you cleared through all of that, right, Vaughn? And then you get down to the prison. And you get all of the prisoners out of the prison or whatever. And then, Ellie asks, where is Abby? And they say she's down on the beach and she's probably dead by now. Ooh, man. And you start, you start going down. Because for me, it felt like a long walk. I don't know why, bud, but getting down to the beach, it felt like it was just a long walk, brother. Like, oh, man. And
I think they did that intentionally. I think they intentionally did that because, remember, she still had the puncture wound in the side of the gut.
Yes.
And I think they intentionally made it long because they were dragging it out. Because I was like, why isn't she moving any quicker? I need to get down to the beach.
Right, exactly. But to me, Vaughn, when it was moving slow, I'm not going to lie, brother. I'm very interested to know how you felt about this. But it was like a bit of dread for me going down to the beach. Because I'm like, man, is she dead? I don't want her to be dead. And if she isn't dead, am I going to have to kill her? So for me,
what choice am I going to have to make?
Exactly. How did you feel in that moment, Vaughn, when you had to go down to the beach? Like, what was going through your mind, to the lead up of having to get to Abby and knowing that it's a possibility that you might have to X her out, man?
I was anxious. Like I said, I think they intentionally held back the run on that because it was not working for me. And I was like, what am I going to find when I get down here? Is she going to be on a boat already? Am I too late? And then the credits going to roll. Mm-hmm. And we got to wait till the next game. They're going to leave us hanging. Is she going to be, what? Because she didn't know Ellie was coming.
Right.
So I just didn't know. I didn't know. I couldn't wait to find out, though.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it was a mixed feeling of, I really don't want the credits to roll here. I don't know if I'm going to have to kill her or I'm going to have to let her kill me. Mm-hmm. I mean, not let her, but the game's going to let her kill Ellie. So I wasn't sure.
Gotcha. Absolutely, man. So as I was getting down there, right, Vaughn, or as the player, I mean, we all went through the same sequence. As you're getting down to the beach and you're looking around, looking at the different bodies that are just hung up on that little podium. I don't even know if it was a podium, but that little pole or whatever that they were on. And you stumble across Abby, brother. When I saw Abby up there, man, the game is so amazing with the detail. When you look at Abby and you see how much weight she's lost, how bad she's looking, and just you can tell she is in no way able to defend herself. She's frail. And soon as you cut her down, and she falls in the sand, her first thought is, where is Lev? She looks for Lev. I'm like, oh, God dang, Naughty Dog. No, man. So she gets Lev down, and you think that, I mean, it was like I didn't know what to think. I mean, that was my whole experience with this game. I had no idea what was going to happen. So when she got Lev down and she put Lev in the boat, and when, not Abby, but Ellie, when she said, you know I can't let you go, I said, oh my gosh.
I'm like, it's on. Here we go.
That's the same thing I said, Vaughn. At first, I was saying, come on, this got to be another way. Wait a minute. I don't want to believe this. And then, I'm going to tell you, I had a little bit of animosity towards Ellie. When she had put the knife to Lev's throat, I was like, come on, man, Ellie, no, this isn't you.
What did that scene remind you of? Remember when the first fight happened and Abby had the knife to Dina's throat?
Oh,
shucks. And she was going to kill Dina, but Lev stopped her.
Yeah. Oh.
It reminded me of the same scene. Remember I said they're the two different sides of the same coin. She held a knife to Lev's throat. It's like, we're gonna do this or he dies.
God dang, Vaughn. Great eye, man. Great eye, brother. That is so true. Man. Good grief. But I tell you, Vaughn, man, that was good, man.
I mean, this game is deep, bro. This game is so deep. There's stuff that they threw in there that just amazed me.
Me too.
But but they get to throwing hands and
oh my gosh, Vaughn.
I had feelings through this one.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, Vaughn. This is once again why to me this game is just so amazing. I had so many thoughts going through my mind like, wait a minute, I do not want to kill Abby. But it's just slashing her with the knife. You know that it's only a matter of time before Ellie's going to go in for the kill, stab her in the gut, in the chest, or whatever. And it was a moment, Vaughn. I don't know if you did this or not, brother, but for me, I started just backing up and just dodging Ellie's punches, hoping that she would just tire herself out or something so I wouldn't have to keep hitting her and hurting her. Did you do the same thing, Vardy, or you just went in?
No, I did the same thing too. But I saw that the game was like, no, we're not gonna let you do that. You're gonna have to get to this certain point.
Yeah, man.
Forever.
Yes, indeed, man. Because I kept dodging and I'm like, man, and I would just slash every once in a while, and then it got to the point where I think she got the knife away from Ellie, and I think they just had to throw hands. I think at one point, right, Vaughn?
Yeah.
And I mean, but while this scene is happening, my gosh, brother, what an amazing graphical showpiece that was. That scene looked amazing. I had no idea that, I mean, of course I had no idea it was going to end like this, with Abby being frail and being just a shell of who she was, and Ellie catching her at this point in time. But then just looking at the graphical detail Naughty Dog, they set a new benchmark, in my opinion, of what the new standard is with graphics, man. I mean, absolutely incredible.
And let's not forget that this is on current gen hardware, so imagine they're going to be able to do in the next gen.
My gosh, brother.
With the new tools.
Man, let me ask you something, Vaughn. Just to deviate for a second, would you pick this up on PS5 if they remastered it, brother?
Probably so.
I said I
so.
probably would too, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Probably so. I can't sit here and lie, man. I just this game is such a masterpiece because you know what? Now that I think about it, actually, I did that with the first one.
Oh, did you really? You had it on the 3 and the 4.
Well, now let me clarify though, twice. But the first time my wife's PlayStation 3 went out, and no, what did it came out on the 4, remastered on the 4. Her 4, something happened to her, so we went and got her one, and it came in the system. You know what I mean? They don't give you the disc; they have the
it's
code.
pre-installed.
It's pre-installed.
Okay.
Well, I'll take that back. She actually had the physical game packed in because she gave it to me because she didn't like it. She didn't like the first one.
Oh,
so
man.
So I actually had it. I had already played it. I had it, and then I had a system with the code in it. So yeah, I ended up getting it. I got it like twice. So yeah, I will probably do the same thing with this one.
Yeah, man, because I'm gonna tell you, Vaughn, what they showed with the demo, the early demo. Well, it wasn't an early demo, but it was like that build that everybody was saying, "There's no way this is running on the PlayStation 4. This is next generation. It's no way." They came very close to that, Vaughn. They might not have hit it 100%, but I would say they came within the 93, 94% range of hitting that with that demo showed off. Because it was amazing, but just to think that could be remastered and go ahead, Vaughn. Go ahead, man.
No, when you say things, it reminds me of something that I heard about the demo. Something else Neil Druckmann said that people were upset because another thing people were upset about because things were shown in the demo that never appeared in the game. He said they did that on purpose. So for people listening that, know about this rhetoric going on about, well, this was in the demo and y'all didn't have, movies do that all the time. We see trailers where stuff is in the trailer and it never shows up or they cut things. And he said they did that to throw people off. And I get that because I've heard movie producers say the same thing. We didn't want you to see a certain character was in the Avengers, so we aired them out when the group was walking. We purposely didn't put this person in there because we didn't want you to figure out what was going to happen with their storyline. Same thing here. They threw people off by putting things in the demo, or stuff was just cut. It just happens.
Right. Yeah, they definitely, and I know we're getting further and further away from the end, but I do want to point this out that they definitely threw me off with the way that, the different scenes that they wanted to show, because that scene where they're at the dance and her and Dina have that first kiss, that wasn't until during literally the end of the game you saw that scene. I mean, that was when you were pretty much, you were done almost when that scene came up. So yeah, you're right. They definitely did a great job of throwing off the player because they absolutely had me fooled 100%. But getting back to the the end of the game, the last fight scene. How did you feel, Vaughn? Because man, my heart was singing, brother. It was singing, man. How did you feel when you had Abby under the water and you were about to drown her, brother? Because I think I was down there. I didn't cry, brother, but I felt so guilty, man. Like, I don't want to do this. Why are you making me do this? I felt so guilty, man, when I had her under the water. Go ahead, Vaughn. My bad, brother.
No. I tweeted out after I finished this game that a picture of Abby and said, "This is my new favorite character." So at this point in the game, I was an Abby fan, right?
Yes.
And I was feeling the exact same way when I was playing as Ellie and she had her under the water. And what is it with the chokes? Because the first fight, Abby had her in a chokehold and Abby pulled out the knife and stabbed her in the leg to get away.
Yes.
So, but anyway, she had her under the water, man. And I was like, okay, this is it. Credits getting ready to roll. Something ready to happen. Or is Lev going to wake up and, do something? I mean, I didn't know. I was like, okay, what y'all doing, Naughty Dog? What we doing here? I was like, okay, let's just see how this going to play out.
Right.
And then we got the flash. We got the flash of Joel.
Man.
What you think?
Brother, that was a moment for me, man. That was truly, that was a moment when that flash, I think it was of Joel playing, was it him playing the guitar? I think
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, where he was playing the guitar, and when she let off of her, man, brother, it was just a lot of emotions for me in that scene, brother. I mean, honestly, when I thought, because you could tell Abby was within a second of her life being over, and when she flashed back to Joel and, you know, and playing the guitar or whatever, and she eased up off of her, brother, I ain't gonna lie to you, Vaughn. I breathed a sigh of relief, brother. I was like, whoa. It was so intense for me, brother. It was just an incredible moment.
It kind of goes back to that scene where I was saying that Abby was at the end of the rope, so to speak, and her eyes were bulging. It was like her mouth was you could see her mouth. She was gasping for air, and she couldn't get up. I love, though, it's like that Superman theory is what I call it. Superman is so powerful, you have to do something, and this is probably why I don't like Superman comics, really. I mean, unless it's a tag up with Batman, but I'm off the subject. But the Superman complex, to me, is they have to do something to Superman to make him have a formidable foe, because he's all powerful. He's like a god. Mm-hmm. So they have to do something every time you see Superman fight. They got to either have that stupid green crystal or whatever. It's the same thing here. It was like at some point when I switched to playing Abby, I'm like, okay, I know these two are going to have to come meet each other. What are they going to do? Because this girl, if it wasn't for that, you know, the knife thing, she was going to kill Ellie.
Yeah,
how
for sure.
Ellie could fight this girl? And then when I saw her going back to seeing her up on that post and how frail she was, because at first I like, no, that can't be Abby. But it made sense because she was in a slave camp, and I'm like, okay, they starved her, they weakened her. I thought Naughty Dog did a good job of that Superman thing where if she was at full strength, Ellie couldn't have done nothing.
Yeah, it would have been a wrap.
It would have been a wrap. Especially she was fighting for Lev at this point. Mm-hmm. But with her being in the condition, they made it an even fight for Ellie. So I was like, okay, Naughty Dog, y'all, you explain that well, how they could fight each other and it'd be a sort of even fight. She's weak. But when she had her under the water like that, I thought it was a wrap for sure. I thought the credits was going to roll, Ellie was going to, you know, whatever. But how did you interpret the Joel? Because I've heard different people say what they thought about the flash of Joel and what that meant to Ellie. The reason why she let up by seeing Joel. What was your interpretation of that flash?
Man, I tell you, Vaughn, I didn't even, I guess the interpretation I got from that was, and I could be totally far left on this one, but I thought that Joel to her represented, you know, some of the happier times in her life, you know, even though they were going through what they were going through, I still thought that Joel to her, you know, kind of represented, you know, a time, because with the flashback scenes, you see they had some great times together. They had some really, you know, heartfelt times with each other throughout their journey with one another. So I thought that him flashing up there, it just harkened her back to, you know, the way to I guess a time in her life when this wasn't it. She wasn't just solely just moved or just consumed with rage and revenge, but to a more, I guess, as it were, more simpler time in her life when she wasn't quite going through these kinds of things that she was going through to get to Abby. So I thought it was enough to have her kind of realize that, you know, this isn't the right thing to do and kind of ease off. I don't know. I could be fully off on that, Vaughn, but yeah, that's the way I interpreted it, I guess.
Okay.
What about you though, Von? How'd you see it?
And that's what I like about Naughty Dog. They kind of, they didn't spoon feed us to tell us this is what it means. They're leaving it for people to have their different opinions. Because I've heard people say, well, no, when she saw Joel at this point, Abby had bit 2 of her fingers off. When she saw Joel, that should have raged. Yeah, that was.
Oh, shucks. Yeah, that was gruesome, man. God,
and if anything, that should have made her want to kill Abby, and that she had come off. I mean, people were disappointed because she had, and I get it. I understand. She came on this journey. Her sole purpose was to end Abby because she had PTSD. She couldn't get it. So I get that. She couldn't get she couldn't get her life right until she did this task, and then she didn't do it. But I feel like when she saw Joel, I kind of look at it a little bit different. I don't think it made her more upset because she had been upset for years, well, at least a year. Tried to live the good life, couldn't get it out of her mind. Thought that this was going to do it. I really think that when she saw Joel, the regret she had with Joel was that she didn't make things right with him before he died. Right.
Right.
But she still was upset with him because remember in the other flashback when she confronted him about the lie. Well, we didn't talk about that.
Oh, we didn't.
When she confronted him about you lied, and I'll never forgive you for that. I think that she regretted him dying without them mending fences, but I still think that she was upset that she felt like she should have died in that first game, right? Mm-hmm. So when she saw Joel, it was more of, well, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for what Joel did. We wouldn't, see, 'cause the whole thing is, this whole game, I'm putting in game context, this whole game wouldn't exist if it wasn't for that one scene in the first part where he killed the doctor. That was the last chance for the world to have a cure. And then he told her, well, no, there was dozens of people who are like you. Well, see, she found out there wasn't, she's never come across anyone else or anybody talking about anyone else who had the cure. So she was it. And she felt like her life was a waste. So anyway, saying all that to say, I think the Joel thing woke her up out of it, but I think it woke her up out of that rage for a different reason that, okay, yeah, I understand why Abby is the way she is. And it's because of what Joel did by not letting me give the world a cure. So it's got to end. I just got to end it because why am I going to kill her when I'm mad at Joel? When I was in the same spot mad at Joel for what he did.
That makes sense, Vaughn. That makes sense. And
that's just my opinion.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing, like you said, the beauty of how Naughty Dog set this up is there is no definitive answer. It's right. All up for interpretation, man. It's all up for interpretation, which is the beauty of the game, man. I mean, good grief. Yeah. I was glad that she didn't kill Abby. I was so happy, brother. So relieved that didn't happen. But I will say, though, when good grief, Ellie was on her way back home, brother. And, and Dina and JJ had packed up, and I think she just shoved, well, maybe not shoved, but she put all of Ellie's stuff in like one room, and they were just gone. And then when Ellie started playing the guitar, couldn't even really play the guitar because she had lost her fingers. I was like, golly, man, it's like she lost, it was like Ellie lost everything, man, for this pursuit of revenge, and she got so wrapped up into it that it blinded her to the good life that she actually could have had and was having at that point in time. So it was like, man, it made me feel so bad for Ellie at the end of it. I was glad that Abby got away, her and Lev, and, you know, they were able to live. And then you telling me that the boat, well, I knew about the boat, but with the dome, though, you know, being there on the far left, that's like, golly, that's icing on the cake to me, because I didn't even know that was even there. I knew they made it to the island, but just looking at the stark difference, because you could say that Abby, she made it. She basically got what she was trying to get, because as you said, Vaughn, once again, it makes it look like she made it to the Fireflies, which was who she was trying to get back with anyway. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have Ellie, who at the time, she had a really good life. She had someone that loved her, had a kid, was out in the middle of nowhere, enjoying life. She could have kept that, but in the end, she lost everything, man.
She became like Tommy, lost everything.
Yep. It was
and Dina told her, I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to sit here waiting for you. She told her.
She did. She did, man. Man, I'm going to tell you something, Vaughn. I didn't know. Well, before we wrap it up finally, what would you give this game, man? What would be your rating scale 1 to 10, brother?
I thought about this after I played the game. I threw the controller. I didn't throw it down, but I put the controller down, put my hands in the air, and I said 10 out of 10. I haven't played a 10 out of 10 game in a long time. But I do have to retract that after being away from it for a while. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I'm going to say now I have to knock it down in a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
8 or 9 out of 10. I'm going to say 9.
Okay.
Because it's still great. It's still great. But I do have to knock it down because I think that it did have some areas that you were supposed to be at point A, get to point B, and they had you walking around, jumping through stores, and I knew they were trying to gear me up. So, but the pacing like that, like Neil Druckmann said himself, some of the pacing was off. They had to cut some areas out, and I think there were some areas they could have shortened. And then another problem I had with pacing was that area where Lev said, I can get you there. We can cut 4 hours down and get you there in 2 or 1 or whatever. And we spending all this time going straight up. I'm like, come on. Really? But I know what they were doing, and they were trying to show that Lev and Abby are getting close, and that Abby had a fear of heights, and they were trying to play on that. But I don't think the message went out a lot. I don't think they emphasized she's human. She got all this time we playing her as the Terminator, and then we found out the Terminator, the Tin Man, has a heart. She's scared of heights.
Right.
Come on, bro. Come on. Y'all could have shortened that. Now we're going up into the clouds. We could have been there if we just went across the bridge. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you on that, Vaughn.
I thought getting there, I thought you were saving me time. Now we going straight up and over, and they don't look up. The whatever the people are, they don't look up. So we do. Come on, bro.
Vaughn said I had enough, man. That was it. We could have saved that. We could have saved all of that.
Her arm that fell off by the time we come back with
the anesthesia and whatnot.
So I have to knock it down for that, and having me run around like a squirrel picking up all these little jewels and stuff when, I'm supposed to go back and save Lev and Yara in the trailer, but I'm picking up bottles and all this kind of stuff. It's like, no.
I feel you, brother.
Some of those areas could have been cut.
I feel you, Vaughn, man, and I respect that too. I respect that that score. That's a fantastic score, though. I mean, 9 out of 10. God dog, can't really ask for any more than that. But for me, brother, I tell you, Vaughn, I just enjoyed and I know this is gonna sound like I'm really putting on a front. Goodness knows, I am not. I absolutely enjoyed every second of this game, man, because, and maybe I enjoyed it so much too. I mean, of course, I didn't come across any spoilers, and my expectations for the game were semi-high. I didn't have like super high expectations for the game. I figured it would be an 8.5 to a 9. I think even on the podcast, I said a 9.3, which is pretty high. But I thought that was going to be from basically the critics and, people around, I thought I would have probably gave it maybe a 8.5.
Okay.
That's what I came into it thinking. It's going to be around that kind of score for me. But after playing it, it just far exceeded anything that I could have imagined the game being, because I enjoyed the first game a ton. Yeah. I didn't think it was the greatest game ever made. I was like, man, come on, man. Y'all going too far with that. I thought it was a fantastic game. But, people saying it's the greatest game ever made, this, that, and the third. I was like, nah, I've played better. The Last of Us part one was great, but I've played games that have been on par with that. But for part two, man, brother.
I'll say it's the greatest game made so far this year.
I 100% agree. I was going to say, brother, I give it a 10 out of 10, brother. It was a perfect score for me. And I would go as far as to say, to me, brother, and I know The Witcher 3 is a phenomenal game, and it was that and God of War on the PlayStation 4 were my games of the generation, all through and through. Yeah. But I got to say, The Last of Us Part 2, brother, that game, at least, it took God of War off the table for me for being like the game of the generation. I'll still say Witcher 3. Yes.
It knocked God of War off his throne,
It knocked God of War, and that was a tall order to fill for me, because God of War, that was just the pinnacle. Absolutely phenomenal game.
Absolutely.
I mean, Cory Barlog, he did incredible things with that character.
Oh, he did his thing with that. That's a whole nother podcast.
Good gosh, I'm telling you, man. But for me, The Last of Us Part 2, and it's because it just brought out emotions and feelings for these characters in this world that you're in, and just the small attention to detail that Naughty Dog put into that game. I mean, just like we were talking about when Abby got cut down from the rope, they made it so the rope the rope scar still stayed on her neck throughout the game. Just those kind of details, just incredible. I would say it's the man. Listen, brother. Hey, man, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna say it, Vaughn. I'm gonna say it, brother. I think you know what? I'm gonna have to put The Witcher 3 to the side. To me, this was my game of the generation, brother.
Okay.
The Last of Us Part 2.
I respect that.
It was I
respect that.
I appreciate that, Vaughn, but it was just, to me, it was just that good, man. I mean, just incredible, brother. Incredible.
Now, let me ask you, do you have high expectations for Cyberpunk?
I paused on that, Vaughn, because Cyberpunk, hey, man, that's.
And I know it's different. I know it's a different game. But just expectations.
Yeah, it is definitely one of my most anticipated games of this year, and I'm gonna tell you, CD Projekt Red, they got a pedigree. I mean, with The Witcher 3, Cyberpunk. I think that's going to be another level too, brother. I truly think that CD Projekt Red are going to absolutely bring the house down with that one. I am so interested and looking forward to getting that game day one. I'm going to be interested. I think, look, I'm going to tell you, Vaughn, I think that, and we're about to wrap this up. I think I've held you up way longer than I was supposed to, Vaughn. But
we're good.
But I'm gonna tell you, I think the games that are gonna be nominated for Game of the Year this year are gonna be The Last of Us Part 2. I think that's just a shoo-in. That has to be there. Cyberpunk 2077. I think that's going to be there. Now, I know they did it for Resident Evil 2. I don't know if they will, but I think Final Fantasy 7 should be in the conversation. I know it's a remake. I understand that might make it so they won't put it in there, but Final Fantasy 7 remake was great. Listen, Now let me put the caveat out there. I have not played my copy yet. It's still in the wrapper. It's still in the wrapper. It's still in the wrapper. But I heard it was fantastic.
So it'll be a conversation, you think?
I think it will. I think so. And golly, what else has come out? Ghost of Tsushima might be in there, Vaughn. I don't know. I think it might
be in there too.
Yeah, that. And what do they have? Usually 5 of them that'll be up for Game of the Year.
I believe so, yeah.
The last one, I don't know what the last game might be. It's just I'm blanking right now on, because Halo. Hey, brother, I would have said Halo at one point in time. I would have said Infinite would have been in there, brother. But hey, man, I don't know, brother.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, man, but yeah, Vaughn, that's what I'm thinking, man. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, my expectations are high for Cyberpunk 2, but that's why I said I think this is the best game so far.
Yeah. That's a good point, though, Vaughn. I hear you don't want to jump out there too prematurely like myself, because Cyberpunk comes around and it's like, man, this is crazy. This is insane. It could definitely happen. CD Projekt Red, like I said, they made the side quests in The Witcher 3 feel like they were just their own game, their own story. I had never ever played anything like that before, where the side quests really had weight to them, and there was just great stories within them. It wasn't just get me a horse, and a barrel of hay, and that was it.
Exactly. But it's a good time, like I always say, it's a good time to be a gamer, to have these good games to look forward to, to have the experience of playing this game and being excited and having you thinking about it after you finish it. So, I mean, it's just a good experience, man. And going back to what started this whole idea of us coming together and talking about this is I don't understand people saying everybody has the right to their own opinion, but I don't understand the hate that this game was getting.
I to this day, after it wrapped, the credits rolled, I'm still stuck trying to figure that out too, Vaughn. I mean, like I said, it didn't push any agenda. It was just, to me, just a fantastic story that had amazing graphics, fantastic gameplay, and characters that, man, I got a soft spot for, So
introduce new characters and
exactly,
some of them, were interesting. I mean, the whole thing with Isaac, we didn't
even talk about Isaac, man. What about when she snuffed him out, Lev's sister? She popped him in the end, man. God, dog. So many moments in this game, brother. Golly.
Now, they didn't do a good job explaining this, but I heard Druckmann say that Isaac was kind of like Abby's father figure because he knew her father. And he said they didn't, I don't know if he said it, but in my opinion, they didn't emphasize that enough. I just thought it was, she's a good soldier and I'm her commanding officer, so I respect that she's a good student. She's learned the game and she knows how to fight. She's my number one soldier that I can count on, who'll follow orders without asking questions. But it goes deeper than that. He was actually close to her dad, and they didn't really get into explaining that too well.
Wow, I see. I didn't know that either. I thought that the way he was going to do her, though, I was like, golly, you can't do her like that. You're going to do her dirty like that, though?
Yeah.
I was like, man, oh, man. So, I mean, just, golly, just so many characters, so many storylines. It was just such an amazing roller coaster ride for me, Vaughn.
Well, last question I have for you, though.
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be The Last of Us 3? And if so, if you think so, what would you like to see, or what direction you think they're going to go with?
Golly, Vaughn, man, Man, oh man. A Last of Us Part 3, will it happen? I'm gonna say, man, I would like to see it happen. You know what? I don't even know if I would like to see it happen, Vaughn.
Really?
Because, man, it's still a lot of questions out there. Like,
Yeah.
What's gonna happen with Abby? Okay, all right. I do think now that I'm thinking about it on the fly. I'm thinking on the fly, Vaughn. So if I mess up a little bit, just know I'm just thinking in the moment. But okay, yeah, I could see it happening. I do think that what I would like to see or know is how did Abby become immune? Because we never really got any.
You mean Ellie?
I mean Ellie. Thank you, Vaughn. How Ellie became immune? Because I don't think that they really explained it in the first game, right? I mean,
no, I don't think that they did. No.
Yeah.
Well, they may have because it's been a while, but
right.
That she had something, and that something is wrapped around her brainstem, and she's born with that particular thing that's in her that's wrapped around her brain cell. So if they remove it, that's when she would die. But yeah, they didn't go into is there a possibility that there are other people out there? I think they purposely are keeping us in the dark on that one.
Right.
Like how common is it,
Exactly. Yeah, I would think that more they concentrate a little more on Ellie and her story, I guess. Even though they did that in this one, but maybe give a little bit more backstory or something like that. But then on the other side, you got Abby too. Like, will they bring Abby and Lev back into it? I mean, it's. You know what, Vaughn? I don't know what the world they could do.
Put it this way: do you think they should do a 3 or just leave it where it is now?
Oh man,
I'm gonna tell you my opinion. In the real world, that Sony is like, oh yeah, we already getting you under contract for a third game.
They gotta do it. They gotta do it.
So yeah, I think for that. But do you think they should make another one? Or just cut it and move on to something else?
That's such a tough call for me, Vaughn, because even though some people, you can't please everybody. Some people are going to feel that the ending, they wanted more. They wanted Ellie to get her revenge in the end. But for me, personally, I think that, especially once you pointed out again, that building that they were talking about was on the side, once the boat came ashore, I would be okay with them ending it right there. I would be okay. I think, Ellie, I know her story, her ending could have been better. It was a sad ending, but in real life, not all endings are happy,
Exactly.
So once again, it just kind of goes to the realism of that world and what Neil Druckmann and his team were trying to portray in it. So I would be okay with it, but at the same time, Vaughn, I would like to see a part 3. I just don't know what they could do, though, at the moment. I just don't know what direction they could go in.
Or would you rather see them do, and I know they probably won't because they would have probably had to already been working on it, would you rather see them do, in a perfect world, a DLC instead of a whole full game where they kind of address, giving you an option like a different ending or something like that? Or killing Abby to satisfy, like I said, I know they probably wouldn't do that just to satisfy some of the naysayers, but
yeah, I don't want Abby to die, man.
I just mean for the people who really want ending, maybe give them DLC where they get like an alternate ending type DLC. That would be a first.
That would.
I can think of another game that did like like when you watch a movie and you can see the alternate scenes or deleted scenes, and maybe they could put a DLC for a couple of hours where they throw in, well, this is what would have happened if you did this, or that's something.
That would be interesting, man. I just know that Neil Druckmann, and I'm sure you know this too, Vaughn. He just said that it wasn't going to be any DLC, man. But I understand what you're saying, though. You're saying like in a what-if scenario. I got you. That would be dope, though. That would be cool, too.
I personally don't want DLC. I don't want them to do any kind of DLC. Leave the game as it is. Don't want to see, of course, no tacked on multiplayer. They're not going to do that either. But as far as a part 3, I think most definitely we will see one, because you got to think it's going to be on a new hardware. It's going to take them 3 to 5 years to get it out anyway.
Yeah.
So we're not going to see it for a while. So at that point in time, we'll be ready for part 3. But what I think would happen, or what I would like to see, this is just my personal like, since Abby is my new favorite character, I would like to pick up the next game, since they kind of going into the one game, kind of tailing off the one before it. Let's pick up with Abby and Lev finding the Fireflies, like you said, at that place that we see on the screen, and then some kind of way or another, I don't know, either through Lev or through maybe even Abby, someone or some situation happens where it slips about, the girl who had the cure is out there and she's still alive, and that the Fireflies actually have another doctor who is able to do the operation that her dad was going to do. Or maybe even she does it, because remember, I don't know if you remember this, but earlier in the game, they kind of alluded that she picked up on some of the things that her father was doing medical. Now, I don't know if she was a full-fledged doctor, but something about that she picked up on some of his things that he was training. But maybe not even her, leave her as the bull, the warrior, whatever. But maybe they have a doctor, a surgeon or something in their camp, since they got so many people. I would like to see them make it to the island, and then maybe fast forward over time, have them slip up and say, we know, or some kind of way the Fireflies find out that the girl who they were looking for, who could be the cure for this world, is still out there and still alive. And some kind of way they hold it over Abby's head that she's got to go out and track her down.
Oh,
and
shucks.
Part 3 is, instead of Ellie hunting Abby, it's Abby hunting Ellie.
Hey, Vaughn.
And since Ellie doesn't have a home, she's now like a wanderer, according to the ending of the story. Maybe they can. I really don't want them to bounce back and forth. I think we should just play one character. But if they're going to bounce back and forth, Ellie is out hunting down Dina. She's trying to find Dina somewhere in the world. Or maybe don't even have Dina. She's just out in the world. She's doing her thing. But we're Abby trying to hunt down Ellie.
That's interesting, Vaughn. Go ahead, brother. I cut you off. Go ahead, brother. My bad.
That's it. Oh, you good. That's it. I would like to see that. I think that would be a good jumping off for part 3.
That's an interesting way to start things off, man. So do you think in most trilogy fashions that this would be the end of the story? You think this is where it would all come to an end for Ellie? Anything
that people were kind of upset, they could kind of address it, because they could kind of put it to rest one way or the other in the third game and let that be the final one.
Oh man, hey Vaughn, I kind of would like to see that, brother. That's good, man. That's pretty good, brother, because I wouldn't have thought of that at all. I'm going to be honest. I would like to sit up here and lie and say, oh, yeah. I would have thought of something like that. Nah, brother, not me. That is a really good plot. That's a great, like you said, that's a great jump-off point to get the game started. They ran into the cure, as it were, for mankind. Fought with this person several times. They met each other, and like you said, it just slips out. Maybe Lev starts talking, because Lev is a little younger, maybe slips in the tongue and says, oh yeah, we met her out in such and such, and then you hear Abby, hey, shh, let's not talk about that. Could be, man, I don't know, interesting, Vaughn, very interesting.
And we know the Fireflies are like, they're not, they're not like, well, the way they portrayed it up to this point, the Fireflies are ruthless.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, from the first game, they're ruthless. They're like, they want this cure. So some kind of way or another, they hold it over her head. I don't know what. Lev is here, you going out on your own, and we're going to keep Lev, and if you don't do it, we're going to pop him off, or whatever. But some way, they because, she's probably not going to want to do it, so they're going to force her to do it. You know what I'm saying? They're going to make it so she to do it. So I would love to see that. And then maybe when her and Ellie hook up, we get to see what if they tag up together, to take down the fly. I mean, it could go in so many different, man. I could see it.
It could. It's a lot of ways it could go, man. Man, Avon, I have kept you here for over 2 hours, man.
Man, I think this might be the longest show you've ever had,
brother.
Man.
I'm gonna tell you, I was about to say you might have helped set a record for the show, brother. I do not think I have ever had a podcast almost 2.5 hours long. Man, but it was just such a great conversation. I'm so glad you came on through, Vaughn. Wanted to talk about The Last of Us Part 2. Such a great conversation I have with you, brother. Before we get out of here, Vaughn, are there any links or anywhere you want people to follow you on social media, Vaughn, or are you good, brother? It's your decision.
I mean, I'm not really on social media that much. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really. I'm not on there a lot. But it's Vaughn's tweet if someone wants to get with me there. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Got you, brother. Well, before we get out of here, man, let me let you guys know, the listeners out there, I'll probably put this in the beginning of the show, but if you want to be a part of the show, as always, man, you can do it 2 different ways. Either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard to leave your comments about The Last of Us Part 2, how you felt about it, or you could email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. Vaughn, this was such a treat, man. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show. I truly enjoyed our time here, man. Being able to talk about The Last of Us Part 2 unfiltered was fantastic, man.
And I appreciate you having me on. And actually, this is the first podcast I've ever been on, so I appreciate the honor of being on the Analog Circle as my first podcast.
Man.
Always a pleasure to participate in the show. I invite other people to call in. It's a great show. And thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Hey, thank you again, Vaughn. Yeah, I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and always remember, guys, man, just game on, man. Just have a great time. Gaming is a great culture, and just enjoy it. Well, until next time when we have another round table, you guys take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.